Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well as usual. So I'm back today with another video, this time with a collection update. You'll recall that in the last video I talked about my Mayhem collection, so that's obviously black metal, but we're taking a bit of a different turn today. Like in today's collection update, most of the releases are heavy metal or hard rock, around that territory, and then also something completely different. So right away you'll know if this video is for you or not, but if you only watch this channel for the extreme metal, rest assured there'll be plenty more of that, so we're just taking a bit of a different turn today. So yeah, this is another edition of Bargain Bin by some secondhand CDs that I picked up recently. So it's interesting, when you go secondhand CD shopping, you pick up things that you perhaps normally wouldn't buy, but that enables you to discover new bands sort of by accident sometimes. So that's what's happened with this batch anyway. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So the first CD that I picked up, this is Diamond Head with Am I Evil, the Best Of. So the title Am I Evil will give it away straight away. Of course, Diamond Head is a new wave of British heavy metal band, which started in the mid-70s, I think. And they're most famous for the song Am I Evil because, of course, Metallica did a cover of that and kind of made it their own, as Metallica often do with covers. And that song's quite important to me, even though I've heard it millions of times. It was the second Metallica song I ever heard in my life, because when I was in high school I had a friend who said, like, he knew of the bands I liked at the time. He said, I didn't even know Metallica. This is when I was like 14 years old, and he said, I'll tape you some Metallica. And that's when I heard the Jump in the Fire Creeping Death EP, and of course the cover of Am I Evil's on that. So it's important to me because it's the second Metallica song I ever heard. But of course Diamond Head influenced Metallica massively. I think they did a few covers of them actually. So was it The Prince? Was that also Diamond Head? Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, sorry. But anyway, yeah, so Diamond Head, famous for that song Am I Evil, but also a famous new wave of British heavy metal band in their own right. And I'm just going to read some blurb on the back here, which will say it better than I ever could. It says, cited as essential early influences on the likes of Metallica and Megadeth, Diamond Head exploded onto the scene during the new wave of British heavy metal in the mid-70s. With each song offering a barrage of perfectly crafted riffs and vocals, this compilation showcases the best of their work, including the hits Am I Evil and In the Heat of the Night. So yeah, as I said, it influenced a lot of thrash metal bands, particularly Metallica and Megadeth. And yeah, I was curious. I had heard the original, the Diamond Head version of Am I Evil on metal radio, and I thought that was pretty good. Like it's rawer and more 70s rock, but of course that's the origin, so that's cool. And I gave this a listen yesterday. Believe it or not, I've only listened to this once. And what's my assessment of it? I think it's not bad. Yeah. Maybe, as is often the case, it takes time for music to grow on you sometimes. So like, I have to admit, when I listened to this yesterday, it didn't blow me away too much. Like, it's certainly not bad, but to me, often it sounded a bit like classic rock background music. And I don't mean any offense to the band or fans of this band. It's just like, it didn't really hook me in straight away, but there are some good tracks. Like, you can see how it's almost proto-heavy metal. Like, it's not full-on heavy metal yet, but certainly heading in that direction, and some songs are quite metallic. So how many tracks have you got on here? 16. The tracks that I like are in the minority at this stage, but the ones that I like are really good. There are no bad tracks. To me, there are a lot of just ones which are, just kind of okay. The only track that I kind of dislike on this is track 5, Out of Phase. And again, it's not a terrible song, but it's just a bit too poppy, and I have nothing against pop music per se, as you will hear later in this video, but just when you're listening to a hard rock or heavy metal band, I guess you don't want it to be too poppy, but that's the only bad track. But let's talk about my favorite tracks on this. So Borrowed Time, track 4, is an excellent song. I really like that. I also really like track 8, entitled Makin' Music. That's got some catchy riffs and atmospheric, clean guitars. I also really like track 9, entitled Dead Reckoning. That's got some chugging metallic riffs and a really catchy chorus. And my other favorite track is track 13, To Heaven From Hell, which also has some catchy riffs. So as I said, not bad at all. And with those 4 tracks, I really like those a lot. So as with the other CDs I'm showing in this batch today, with each listen they've grown on me more and more. So bear in mind I've only listened to this once and I thought, yeah, pretty good. But I think as I listen to it more, I'm going to enjoy it more. But those 4 tracks really blow me away. So Borrowed Time, Making Music, Dead Reckoning, and To Heaven From Hell. Yeah, good stuff. So there's the blurb on the back. Cool logo with this band. It kind of, maybe this inspired the Balsa Goth logo. What do you reckon? And yep, they've got a picture of the band and all of the history and everything, which I'm yet to read because the music always comes first. But yeah, good stuff. It's good to have an album. There's the disc there, which is sort of influential on that whole heavy metal scene and, you know, sort of going back to the roots. So yep, I think this is pretty good, but I think it's going to grow on me even more. So that's Diamond Head with Am I Evil, the best of. All right, now coming up to the next CD, this time switching to some, you could say, maybe hair metal or glam metal. This is Kicks with Blow My Fuse. So, as a hair metal band, that title, Blow My Fuse, full of sexual innuendo, but what else do you expect? But this band is really good. I'm very late to discover this band, but I really like them. So, I'll give you a bit of background. I'd heard the name floating around, Kicks, and it reminded me of the American cereal. Actually like the one that Crew Jones eats in Rad. But I first properly got to know about this band on an episode of That Metal Show, you know, the show with Eddie Trunk, Don Jameson, and what's the other, Jim Florentine. Like, it's a very kind of cheesy but enjoyable show, but they had an interview with 2 of the guys from Kicks, I think Steve Whiteman, the vocalist, and Brian Forsyth, and I thought they were pretty cool guys. Like Steve Whiteman, he's pretty funny and charismatic, and Brian Forsyth is like a very chilled, laid-back guy. But yeah, that interview sort of sparked my interest, you could say, and then I actually heard my first Kicks song on a glam metal compilation on YouTube. That song was Midnight Dynamite, and I absolutely love it. Like, it kind of reminded me, if you like Rat, I think this band has a lot in common with Rat, especially the vocals, although I will say Steve Whiteman's vocals, they're kind of that like raspy, screechy voice, but not to the extent of Stephen Pearcy of Rat, which sounds like sandpaper on chrome. Like Steve Whiteman's are a bit more melodic, but really good stuff. But anyway, I just saw this and thought, okay, the band seems cool. I like that song, Midnight Dynamite, so I'll buy this one. This one, Blow My Fuse, was released in 1988, so obviously the peak of the glam metal, hair metal era. And I think this is regarded as one of their most classic albums. They have a few albums anyway. So yeah, how could I describe this in a nutshell? This album anyway, it's raunchy hard rock / heavy / hair metal with all of those hair metal elements like anthemic sing-along choruses, powerful melodic backing vocals, catchy riffs, good guitar solos. And what's interesting about this band is on this album anyway, they incorporate a lot of harmonica into songs, and I think they even have some harmonica solos from what I recall anyway. But this was one, I listened to it when I first got it, and then again yesterday, and then again today, and I have to say it grows on me each time. Each time I like it more and more, so I think I'm going to end up really loving this album. I mean, I pretty much do already, but yeah, I'd like to discover more Kicks. So they have 10 tracks on this album, all really good. Like I said, based on my description, that's that standard hair metal formula, but I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's really good, and it's quite interesting actually. Like, with this band, even though it's hair metal, it's not predictable. You know, like when you listen to bands like Motley Crue or Poison, you go, I've heard that a million times. This sounds a bit different. It sounds fresh, which is what I really like. So 10 tracks, and I like most of them. There are only about 3 which don't stand out to me, and they're not bad. They're still pretty good, but like 7 of the 10 tracks are standout tracks to me, so I'll just talk about my favorite ones now. First of all, track 1, entitled Red Light, Green Light, TNT. That's got excellent riffs in the chorus and really good vocals. And I also really like Get It While It's Hot, track 2. That's got some great riffs and an awesome chorus, like very catchy. It's stuck in my head today, like when I went to the laundrette. Welcome to my life. Yeah, when I went to the laundrette today, it was just playing on a loop in my head, so that's a really good song, Get It While It's Hot. I also really like track 5, entitled She Dropped Me the Bomb. That's got some great riffs and a really awesome pre-chorus, which is like an earworm once again, so yeah, really good stuff. What else do I like? Track 6, entitled Cold Blood. That's got some really catchy vocal melodies, and big backing vocals. So that song, Cold Blood, the backing vocals kind of remind me a bit of Def Leppard, especially like the rawer earlier era of Def Leppard, which is cool. And track 7 I also really like, entitled Piece of the Pie. That's got some catchy rocking riffs, a good strut, and a great vocal melody. This song, Piece of the Pie, it actually reminds me a lot of, it's got the same vibe as Poison's Open Up and Say Ah. So I know a lot of people say, oh, Poison is schlock, it's cheesy crap. Maybe to a degree, but I still find, I have to say, like, Poison can be quite fun, especially that album, Open Up and Say Ah. Like, there's some cheesy as shit songs on there, but there are also some really good tracks. So think of more like the good tracks, like Tear Down the Walls. Yeah, that song, Piece of the Pie, has got those kind of vibes. So yeah, and I've said before, Poison are kind of like a guilty pleasure for me, but you shouldn't really have guilty pleasures. You shouldn't apologize for any music you like. If you like it, you like it. But yeah, that's a really good song. So some Poison vibes on that one, Piece of the Pie. And then the title track, Blow My Fuse, that's got a really good chorus, which is just catchy, powerhouse, and really heavy, so it sticks in your head again. And I also really like the closing track, entitled Dirty Boys, which is just fast and thrashy to close the album. So really good stuff. All those sort of classic elements of hair metal, which hair metal fans enjoy, but it's got a different take, a different twist, I think. It's not like just totally predictable. Like some of the structures and transitions, they just sound like, wow, oh, that's interesting. That's the impression I got when I listened to this. So yeah, really good stuff. Love this cover as well. Again, you know, the sexual innuendo is evident, but like it's one of those sort of iconic cover arts, I think. So you've got that, and then a very sort of 80s booklet there, and pictures of the band. So five in the group, and there's the disc, and song titles on the back. So you see the art direction, it's a bit like Rat's Invasion of Your Privacy, maybe. Yeah, so excellent stuff. This is a new discovery for me, but I would like to pick up more albums by Kix. I know some of you out there are fans. I think George G is a fan of this. So any recommendations you could make about their good albums, I would really appreciate that. So yeah, awesome hair metal. And I would say, just to give you some guideline or reference, I think this is for fans of Rat, especially the vocal style, even though the vocals aren't as raspy as Stephen Pearcy's. So for fans of Rat, also Black and Blue, early Def Leppard, particularly the first 2 albums, and Quiet Riot. So if you like any or a combination of those bands, you will probably really like this. So that's Kix with Blow My Fuse. Awesome stuff. All right, now we're up to the wild card for today. This is something which is non-metal, shock horror, but it's something that I had my eye on for a while. So let's just go ahead with it. This is Tears for Fears with Tears Roll Down, greatest hits 82 to 92. Okay, so before you do anything, hold it. You don't have to unsubscribe, yes, just because it's not metal. I know, like, maybe I'm exaggerating there, but it seems like some people, if they see something they don't like, they get all sensitive about it. But yes, Tears for Fears. So like, everyone probably knows them, you know, for their biggest song, which is Everybody Wants to Rule the World and Shout. But this is like a British, specifically English, band from the 80s, and they play a style of sort of, it's a combination of new wave, pop rock, and synth pop. So you might be wondering, why the hell do you own this? Why did you buy this? Would you even like this? Yes, I really like it a lot, and the reason why is because I grew up as a preteen in the 80s, so I think I have that affinity with the 80s sound. So I really have an appreciation of all 80s music, just not just hard rock and heavy metal, but any music which came out in the 80s was generally good, even pop music, I would have to say. Like, much better than the shitty pop music of today. I sound like an old man, don't I? Like, oh, back in my day, pop was good. No. But seriously, if you have an affinity with the 80s sound, you're going to really love this. And I was surprised because I bought it for the 2 most famous hits, and it was worth it for those songs alone. So let's just talk about those. So like, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. You probably know that song, but some people might say, oh, you like that? That's a really sort of like feel-good, high-off-life, happy song. I don't think so, actually. I think the song Everybody Wants to Rule the World, it's one of those sort of like, it's kind of dark, and not foreboding, but it's just dark because it's one of those songs that makes you contemplate and reflect on life. A bit like Iron Maiden's No Prayer for the Dying. Not the musical style, but like that concept, it makes you think. And it's kind of, it's bittersweet, like it's happy, but it's also depressing, and it just makes you think about the process of life in general, especially when you listen to the lyrics. So that's what I like about that song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It evokes a certain feeling in me, and I can't describe it, but when music awakens strong emotion in you, that's when I think it's really powerful. So I really like that song a lot. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it. I know a lot of metalheads out there probably won't like it, but if you have an appreciation of 80s music, you probably will. And then the other one, which is not as poppy, is Shout, and that's an absolutely fantastic song as well. So like very 80s sort of industrial rock, synth pop, and yeah, I just love that. So I think Disturbed did a cover of that song, and I actually liked that cover as well. So yeah, if you're not as open-minded about pop, maybe try the single Shout, but I really like Everybody Wants to Rule the World too. And then I have to say there are 12 tracks on this, and when I first listened to it, I only liked those first 2 tracks, but like with Kicks, with each listen I get into this more and more, and other tracks are starting to stick with me and grow on me. Like I really like track 6, Mad World, and that's got a really new wave vibe, and I also really like track 7, Pale Shelter as well, very catchy. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. But good stuff. And then even the song, was it Head Over Heels? Yeah, I didn't like it when I first heard it. That's growing on me too. So like, if you like new wave, pop rock, synth pop, especially with that 80s sound, give this a go because you might really like it. But I understand that a lot of metal fans just wouldn't be interested in it at all. But for me, as much as I love metal and rock, like I would say I listen to that 90 to 95% of the time. I do listen to other styles of music too, and anything which is remotely 80s, I'm pretty much all over it, generally speaking. So this is, yeah, I just really enjoy it. Yeah, so if you're open-minded enough, give it a chance. And it's good because this is the greatest hits, so it's a good starting point. They have 2 discs here. So CD 2 is like the same tracks from CD 1, except they're doing some like club remixes, so it's a bit more like dancey, you know, with techno beats and everything. So again, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't be into that, but as I've mentioned before, I quite like electronic music. But I haven't actually given CD 2 a listen yet, just CD 1. Not the remixes, but the originals, and I think it's really good, and it's growing on me more and more. So just show you, it's funny, when I saw this in the shop, they had this version which has the 2 discs, or another version, same artwork, with just disc 1 for the same price. So pretty obvious which one I'm going to choose. So just show you the booklet here. And I think they actually have the lyrics for the songs, but with this kind of music, some psychedelic stuff there. With this kind of music, you don't really need a lyric sheet because it's pretty easy to understand what they're saying. Yep, and just the 2 discs inside Fontana record label there. Yep, okay, so if you're a fan of 80s music, you'd really enjoy this. I would recommend this to fans of bands. I'm not just saying these because these are new wave bands, but it sort of reminds me of these bands in certain ways. If you like bands such as The Cars, Gary Newman, Depeche Mode, maybe The Human League, maybe even certain elements of The Cure, which I really like, then you will probably like this too. And it's interesting, I've never been a massive fan of new wave, but I've never minded it, and I'm actually starting to appreciate it more, especially the band Devo and stuff like that. So yeah, so this isn't completely new wave, it's also mixed with some synth pop and, you know, pop rock, but really good stuff. So yeah, like I said, if you just want to get an impression of if you like this band, I would say listen to Everybody Wants to Rule the World or Shout. But yeah, really good stuff. So that's Tears for Fears with Tears Roll Down, Greatest Hits 82 to 92. All right, so that's it for today, guys, just the 3 albums. It went on a little longer than anticipated, but like I've mentioned before, I just don't want to say, here's an album, it's good, or it's bad, next. What's the point of that? So that's it for today. I'm not sure what I'm doing in the next video, but I will probably go back to extreme metal. I think maybe black metal vinyl, but don't quote me on that. But the next video will definitely be regarding extreme metal. So give yourselves a pat on the back for getting through this video. Yep, so I'll leave you there. Thanks a lot for your support of the channel. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm always really happy to hear from people. Let's get some discussion going. That's what makes this stuff interesting. Am I right? Okay, so in the meantime, take care and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye.